So, hello and welcome. My name's Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with Vena Ramphal on spirituality and money. And Vena is a classical Indian dancer and spiritual coach born into the Indian wisdom traditions of yoga, Sanskrit, and meditation. Her work is rooted in these traditions. She's a Londoner by birth and upbringing, and she's focused on addressing the issues of contemporary global society. Her work as a dancer and coach have featured on TV and media across the world. In 2018, she was chosen by Channel 4 to be the coach and spiritual guide on their reality show 7 Year Itch. She has an online school, Lipstick and Enlightenment, which offers guided meditations and courses for spiritual people wanting to live a fulfilling life in the real world. And there will be a web link going out with this podcast. Hi, Vena.
Hello, Steve.
So it's a hot subject, this one. Why is it such a hot subject, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think that spirituality and money, the problem is that there is such a strong split between spirit and matter. And of course, this is a false split, but it is a split that we have bought into for centuries. And I think money takes us to the heart of that split. So I've noticed that spiritual people struggle so much with money. And I'm just done with seeing that struggle. They tend to pull away from money. I'm going to say we, because, this is very much my journey as well.
Yeah.
The wish to be spiritual, the wish for enlightenment, the wish for the higher vibrations, the wish for all the good stuff means that we tend to look at money and see, people who have a lot of it, we think they tend to be bad, therefore money is bad. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we then pull away and we create this blind spot with money that is really, really unhelpful and dysfunctional.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess you would probably think the religious ideas have been a big factor in this. Would you say that?
I think that religion certainly has had an influence, but for me, spirituality and religion are two very different things. And I think that when we look really at the spiritual community, which has been emerging very strongly internationally over the last few decades and really growing. So when I say spiritual, I mean people who are really seeking to know the truth about life. Yeah. And want to understand what is our place in this universe, how do we make the most of it, how do we be the best that we can be in every sense of the word. So I think the problem is that a lot of spiritual traditions emphasize the non-physical, including, so let's look at the yogic traditions that I come from. A lot of that is very much about, doing inner work, doing the inner meditation, using the subtler aspects, developing the subtler aspects of our system, like the chakras and so on. Now, that's, of course, all very, very important. But the point is we are in a physical body. So I'm also a classical Indian dancer, and dance is very much part of the spiritual tradition. So I started dancing when I was 6.
Right.
I did very young. And because of that is actually what has given me such a fantastic grounding in the body. And in the fact that we are in a physical reality. So I think that one of the things that we need to do with a lot of these spiritual traditions is remember to include the body, to include matter, to include materiality, and to include the earth. Let's remember that everything that we purchase with money, and indeed money itself, all of this comes out of the earth. It comes out of this extraordinary planet that we are on, that we depend on.
Well, it seemed to me that certainly in the West, a few thousand years, we've had, the choice was you could be spiritual or religious, you could say, religious or spiritual, and go into some monastery, or you can be in the world and go to the marketplace. There wasn't really a choice in between. Like now, people don't have to subscribe to religion, but for a long time, they had this split was imposed, wasn't it? Like you have to, and then if you go into the monastery, there's the sins of the flesh where the body's kind of whipped and denigrated. Yeah. So it's kind of like that maybe recently the idea that we can be spiritual people apart from a religion, but for a long time we couldn't. I don't know about in India, maybe you could in India, but in the West it was a bit more difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, India is a very different scenario. I mean, even the word religion actually does not apply to India. because the word religion is very much a Western concept, and this whole idea of, you know, God being, or divine, or whatever you want to call it, being separate from the human, whereas the Indian context is very different. And I know a lot of scholars of religion talk about the Indian context through the lens of religion, but it's a very, very flawed way of looking at it. Yeah. There has always been the sense of seeking and wanting to know, and the sense of using the materials that we have around us, everything on the spiritual plane, for everything on the physical plane for our spiritual upliftment. So in the Indian context and in the Indian wisdom traditions, and I think this is very valuable now for all of us, wherever we are in the world, money is venerated, absolutely venerated, and there's a great reverence for money because it is known and understood to be a manifestation of the divine, as is everything else in the universe, right? I mean, we're familiar with this concept from the alchemical traditions, both from India, but also from the Western alchemical traditions. You know, this idea as above, so below. Everyone is familiar. Everyone has heard that by now. Yeah. As within, so without. Every aspect, every atom in the universe, every atom in the material world is condensed light. Right? We're all familiar with this. We get this intellectually, but when it comes to money, we still manage to sort of cut ourselves off. We still create the split. We still pull away from it. And that's really what I want to heal.
Yeah, wonderful. What about the factor of family conditioning? Because, you know, we could... In England, for example, we're living with this class system. I mean, it's still there, isn't it? In some ways, people still talk about it, and so you could have one family talking about money, living in the same street, perhaps, or the same area, and another family could be have a very different way of looking at money or relating to money. It's partly class, but I guess class, and there may be other factors, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the family piece is a really, really important one. You know, there is that kind of genetic conditioning around money, without a doubt. So for myself, you know, I grew up in a family that very much valued academic pursuits, right? Yeah. Learning. This, again, I mean, this in many ways, this is also a very Indian kind of value, that the valuing of knowledge and wisdom. And like I said, I was drawn to dance. I started dancing when I was 6, which is an artistic practice. And of course, artists, we are renowned for being all over the place with money. Do you see what I mean? So I grew up with this sense of, it wasn't a sense that money was bad or evil, but it was a sense that, well, that's not my role. Okay. Yeah. So it created this blind spot. It created this sort of sense of pushing away. I pushed money away. I felt, well, you know, that's somebody else's job. Business people look after money. My job was to sort of be academic and to have wonderful ideas, to share ideas with the world, to share beauty through dance, to share femininity through dance. But it was all very ethereal and uplifting, and you know, none of this grounded stuff. But the interesting thing is, so that was really where I started. And it was my journey was then to realize that, hang on a second, I'm experiencing feast or famine here. Yeah. I did not have stability in my own experience of money. And that was when I started to really study the sort of spiritual reality behind money. And that created this shift where I was able to then create stability in my relationship with money. So certainly I would encourage people to look at their own family. You know, what did you inherit from your parents? What did they inherit from their grandparents? Do you see what I mean? This is all very present. But through the tools that I share, it's absolutely possible to make these shifts with money very, very quickly. That's the interesting thing for me, is that we can upgrade our relationship with money very, very fast, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think in my family it was very different to yours, that the messages I got was get a secure job, which was very much the values of my grandmother, I think. And, you know, in those days you could get a job for life, and you get a pension and a gold watch, and then get a proper job was my dad's idea. And of course, none of my jobs in the last 25 years have been proper. So, but they've been more abundant because I've been following my heart, which is rather than following, I guess maybe it's a very Asian thing as well. You know, I've heard it from a lot of people from Asian families where they're being pushed and pressurized into becoming a lawyer, becoming an academic, becoming a dentist or whatever. And actually their heart is calling them somewhere else. And it creates some problems, I think.
It creates huge problems. And again, we're talking about the split, aren't we? There's this perceived split. And, you know, for parents and grandparents, you know, if they came from a background where they had to struggle for money, of course they wanted you to get a secure job, because in their mind, that was a solution to the problem.
Yeah.
But, you know, when we have this split between the heart, what the heart wants to pursue, and the, you know, the security, if you like, that's where we create this internal conflict. Because the other side of that dysfunction is that we've often heard it said, you know, this advice that, oh, well, if you follow your heart, the money will come. And that's nonsense. Honestly, that is absolute nonsense. I see it everywhere, and I did it myself for a long time. Artists and spiritual people pursuing their passion with absolutely no freaking money. The money just does not follow. What is true about money is that money likes attention. If you're not paying attention to the money, it's not going to follow you. It just isn't. So where we are, and I think this is very much applicable to everything in the world at the moment, we have to create a holistic attitude and approach and experience. We need to heal the splits, you know, heal those rifts that we've created, and come into a space where our consciousness is a consciousness of wholeness, of completeness, where the full spectrum of money and spirit and those spiritual pursuits are all part of one whole experience for us.
Yeah. Because I came from, my first 10 years of work was in the City of London in finance, in international banking. And I saw a lot of people there with no spiritual values, of course, paying a lot of attention to money. And so, of course, if you do pay attention to money, yes, you can get it. But, of course, to have a fulfilling experience of it, it's also better to really heal the split, isn't it? So you're healing it so you can have, it's because I used to hear this all the time. Oh, what are you going to do with your net bonus? I'll buy another Porsche or another flat. And I'm like, that's so meaningless, isn't it, really?
Yeah. And you've hit, this is a really important point. I think because, again, we can look at people who do put a lot of focus on money, and we can say, well, you know, if they are only pursuing the next Porsche or the bigger yacht, then what we observe is that they have a very strong dysfunction around money, and that dysfunction is greed. It's an addiction. In fact, it's an addiction to possess more, to get more, and it's based in lack because they never feel that sense of lack. But here's the problem: spiritual people then look at that and think, oh, well, therefore money is bad. If I pursue money, then I am going to become like that. That is what they worry about. But here's the thing, and this is going to sound really harsh, but I think we don't have time to waste anymore, right? It's time for the harsh truth. The harsh truth is that when us spiritual people over here pull away from money, we are creating just as much of a dysfunction as the greedy people. Okay, we have a poverty dysfunction. And again, you know, we can look at it and say, oh, well, we're not hurting anybody. You know, those people, the greedy people, are hurting others. They're willing to ride roughshod over other people to get what they want. At least we're not doing that. But here's the thing. We are doing that. We are still hurting humanity because we are not taking up our place on the planet in a healthy way, right? So again, coming back to my dance training, I think this is one of the biggest lessons I've had to learn in life. As a dancer, I was very comfortable taking up my place on the stage, but I had to learn to take up my place in life as well. And that meant, and it continues to mean, taking up my place with money. So we have to pay attention to money. And for, you know, don't worry, for your audience, don't worry that you're not going to become greedy. That is not your dysfunction. Your dysfunction is around poverty. So solve that and come into a whole healthy relationship with money. And we need good people to be rich. We need good people to have plenty of money, because that is how we are going to create a new paradigm for money. If we're sitting over here just complaining about the rich, greedy people, that is not going to create any kind of paradigm shift. We have to take action.
What do you think was the main? What really helped you transform your experience of money? I know you've mentioned paying attention to it. Is there any other? Because a lot of people are suffering from this scarcity, lack, which may be connected to, of course, self-worth. Perhaps that may come in. I don't deserve. I'm not worthy, and all that stuff. But there's probably a lot more. What would you say to really would help someone with lack or scarcity consciousness?
Yeah, well, here's the great news. You don't have to immediately go and start earning loads more money or getting a different job or anything like that. Because one thing I've observed is that you are already wealthier than you realize. Okay, so one of the first really big changes that I had with money was when I started I'll tell you when it was. This was in 2005. Okay, I had just decided to complete my marriage and get a divorce. So it was a whole new chapter in my life. There was a lot of flux, a lot of change. I was on my own. I was taking responsibility for myself financially for the first time, having shared that responsibility. I did not have a lot of money to play with, so I had to be very careful. But it was also a time of incredible sensuality for me. I was really enjoying food. I was enjoying sex. I was enjoying clothes. I was enjoying beauty, all of these things. And whenever I went food shopping, I would often go into London, into central London, and go to a particular deli. It was a little bit more expensive, but I was really carefully choosing everything that I bought. So I would go on these little shopping trips with a very particular kind of attention. I was looking for delicious things. I wanted to enjoy things. I was choosing things really carefully. I was looking at the price and I was noticing it, but my quality of attention was one of curiosity and enjoyment and pleasure. And here's what I noticed. The food that I bought with that attention nourished me more, lasted longer, and went further. So by changing the quality of my attention to the way I spent money, and in the act of spending money, I became wealthier and I became more stable in my relationship with money, and I created a more abundant experience of money. So it's interesting. You don't necessarily have to start by focusing hard on money straight away. Focus on food and your relationship with food, because food is our most primal need. And when we're spending money on food, we're spending money on our most primal needs. So if you address that, everything else will follow much more smoothly in your relationship with money.
Beautiful. You probably agree with me then that because I would regularly make a habit of going to Fortnum and Mason's for tea. It's the one with the Queen's arms over it in Piccadilly, and it's not cheap. But I used to go there. And at the beginning, I thought, oh, isn't this a bit too pricey for me? But then I make it a habit of just going there for tea and really hanging out. The people know me there; they recognise me. They come and have a table, sir. This is your table. And I do it regularly because I love the beauty and the abundance of the surroundings, the colour, the light, and the service. And I just think those kind of places, it's not just Fortnum & Mason's, but I do regularly go to elegant places just to have an elegant experience in my body, So I guess that's exactly what you're saying, yeah.
That is exactly what I'm saying. And there's an interesting thing about the word luxury. It comes from the word Latin lux, which means light. Okay, luxury is light condensed. And again, coming back, and that's very much in the Western mystical traditions, the alchemical traditions, that understanding. And it's also in the Indian wisdom traditions. So Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, is also the goddess of beauty. So beauty, elegance, money, luxury, they are all part of the same thing. They all come out of the earth. We are all part of the earth. And it's important for each person, I think, to enjoy luxury in a way that works for them. So that's what I'm saying. It's not about deciding you want to go and get a Maserati or something crass like that. Yeah. It's about deciding what is luxury for you. What works for you? What is your healthy container of money? And then fill that up with joy.
Yeah, I found when I was at Alternatives, we regularly did picnics for the team, volunteers there. And what I noticed in any picnic actually is that when a lot of people bring something to the table, it's like there's so much. I mean, we can't eat it all. Do you know what I mean? So it's like almost like when a lot of people are bringing that kind of abundance, I guess. And I used to love it because I used to think, well, I might bring 2 or 3 dishes, and here I am sitting with 30 dishes, and there was always more than enough for everyone. It was a really interesting experience, really. That I think money also can be also a collective thing, that we can have collective wealth when people come together and share. Is also, would you say that also?
Absolutely. And I think what you've noticed about the food there, that is always the case whenever you go to a sort of potluck dinner or anything like that, when people bring, even if it's a small thing, it seems to magnify. It multiplies. It's that principle of multiplication, and it's quite wonderful. And I think that before we kind of get into the collective piece, it's really important for each of us to hold our own ground with money individually. Do you see? So then we're bringing a healthy expression of money and wealth to that collective. So I know you're going to share the website. I've just created actually a freebie, a free gift there, which is 6 ways for spiritual people to fix their relationship with money. And that shares these practical ways as well, the outer actions as well as the inner spiritual actions, because you don't have to give up your spirituality to do it. It's not in any way, shape or form. So if people have a look at that, there are 6 specific things they can do to fix their relationship with money and to make money part of their spiritual practice.
Brilliant. So if you just check the link below this podcast, you'll see it it will be on SoundCloud, YouTube and my website, but there will be a link on all 3 platforms. venaramphal.podia.com. Just check out that link and you can download that gift. Let me just ask you, do you think, a lot of people seem to think the system's rigged and controlled, that we can't really make money because there's too much control. What do you think about that?
Oh, no, I definitely don't think so at all. I really, really don't. And I think particularly now, I think in the past, maybe, but technology and the internet changed the universe.
Yeah.
You know, I say this about everything. Honestly, the internet changed the universe. I mean, you know, we're sitting here now having a conversation that we're in different parts of the country, and then you're going to put this out on those platforms that you mentioned, and people around the whole planet, if they have an internet connection, they'll be able to access this. So I think in the past, yes, definitely, there was a lot more control, and it was very few people had access. That has really, really changed, and that's why I think those of us, you know, it has become more democratized. So it is really the responsibility of those of us who are in a position to make money, who want a healthier, more sustainable world. We have an absolute responsibility to make money, because then we're creating a new ecology. I don't like the word economy. We're creating a new ecology of money, but we all have to do it. If we don't do it, if we just sit here whining, then the system won't change. We've got the technology. The question is, are we going to actually use it in a way that is going to create a new ecology of money?
Wonderful. Well, I know you want to offer a brief meditation, Vena, so I'll pass it over to you. Okay,
wonderful. Yeah, so I created this meditation actually this morning, just specially for your audience, because I was sensing, what do we want? What do we want here? So, great. So if you just gently come to a comfortably upright posture and allow your eyes to close. And take a few deep but gentle breaths in and out. Relaxing the body a little more with each out breath. Relaxing the body a little more with each out breath. Settling into your body. From head to toe, let your attention settle down from head to toe. Gently gathering your awareness into your body. Flesh, blood, bones, gathering your attention into the fleshy reality of your body. Deep, gentle breaths, settled and stable in your body. Gently now bring your attention to the space in your mind's eye, the space in your mind's eye. Notice what you can see. Now, in your mind's eye, you're going to get up and go to your kitchen. In your mind's eye, get up and go to your kitchen. Now, go to your food. You might go to a fruit bowl or your veg tray or your spice cupboard. Whichever you feel drawn to, go through a particular place of your food. Now pick up one item of food, maybe a fruit, a vegetable, a favourite spice. Pick it up and hold it in your hands. Feel the weight of it in your hands. Look with a sense of appreciation. Acknowledge that this food came out of the earth, out of the planet. Appreciation. And now acknowledge the flow of money that enabled you to have this food. Money exchanged hands for you to have this food. Appreciation. Feel deep appreciation for the money, the flow of money, as you hold your food. If any resistance comes up, just gently allow it to be, allow it to move through. Now put your food down, replace it gently, and move into your bedroom. Move into your bedroom and look at the bed. This space where your body and mind rest and rejuvenate each night. Look at the pillow, the covers, the mattress. Be aware of the structure. Acknowledge that human effort and skill and attention made each of these components, your pillow, the covers, all of it. Human attention, skill, and effort made all of this possible for you. Acknowledge the value in this with appreciation. Acknowledge that money flowed, money changed hands in order for you to enjoy this space of rest and rejuvenation. Acknowledge that you are part of the flow of money around the planet. Deep appreciation. Now move to your wardrobe and pick out a favorite piece of clothing. Pick out a favorite piece of your clothing. It could be a fabulous coat, it could be a pair of socks. Pick it out and look at it. Look at the details. And recall, did you buy it? Was it gifted to you? How did it come into your life? Deep appreciation. Acknowledge the human attention, skill, effort that went into making this garment. Acknowledge the material that came out of the earth. Acknowledge your own enjoyment of this garment. Acknowledge the money that flowed in order for you to enjoy this garment. Gently replace the garment into your wardrobe and draw your attention back into your mind's eye, into your body, gathering your attention back slowly into your body. Take a deep, gentle breath in and sigh out as you settle back into the body. You can wiggle your toes and fingers to ground yourself. And when you're ready, open your eyes.